Hey there guys, welcome back to Mana Down Under. For today's video we are doing a command deck tech on Gargos the Vicious Watcher, a brand new command from Core Set 2020. Mono Green Hydra Tribal is here with real support now. So very interesting design, 6 mana 8/7 with Vigilance. Hydra spells you cast cost 4 less to cast, very interesting, works weird with X spells. But in addition, whenever a creature you control becomes the target of a spell, Gargos fights up to one target creature you don't control. So it doesn't care who casts a spell, it can be you or your opponent, and it'll be any creature, doesn't matter, but Gargos does the fighting, a little bit different. Kind of like he's watching out for the other Hydras. Overall, interesting design. He has like 3 points of combat because he has Vigilance. He can attack, he can block, and he can engage in fights. And it's great because it offers you defense. Like if your opponent trying to remove any of your creatures, there's a good chance one of their creatures is about to get clapped by an 8/7 Hydra. But you can also use it to your own advantage by buffing up your creatures and then using that to make Gargos fight things and stick onto them. Really cool. The reduction part makes most of the Hydras in this deck cost just their colored mana, and if a Hydra has X in its casting cost, just add 4 into it pretty much. So, very interesting commander, and let's get into it. Alright, so a couple of cards that support the game plan first. Unbound Flourishing, Modern Horizons. They definitely knew they were printing a Hydra commander in Core Set 2020 when they made this. So, it pretty much says any permanent that have X, double up the X part of it. If you cast a spell, instant sorcery, activate ability that has X in it, double it up again. It's very abusive in a deck like this. Doubling Season in a Hydra deck is pretty simple. Most Hydras care about counters in some way or another, or just simply buffing himself up. Hardened Scales, same thing, but it just gives us those incremental advantages across the length of the game. And there's a few odd creatures it does work well with. So into the actual Hydras first. I've separated them into the non-X variants and the X variants. So first up is Kalani Hydra, the one with the best devotion and magic. 8 mono green symbols, 8/8. It costs 1 less green to cast for each green creature you control. So your mana dorks help produce the mana and reduce it early on. And he's got trample, so he's just a big beater. Colonial Hydra is probably the king Hydra in this deck. At 5 mana, it's a 4/4 because it enters the 4 counters on it. But whenever it attacks, you can double all the 1/1 counters on all your creatures. So very abusive. We do have a bit of a combo with him later on. Ulvenwald Hydra is just incremental growth across the length of the game. We have more lands out, and we do ramp pretty hard. And it gets out lands from our deck too. The Whiptongue Hydra just helps us destroy flyers, mono green, we don't have much reach, we've got no reach actually in the deck. We don't do with flying too well, so this is a great thing to have. And look at the mana cost of all of these. Thanks to your commander, all of these except for Kalani Hydra will pretty much be 2 mana or 1 mana to cast. It's scary quick, this commander. Mana Gorger is probably one of the small Hydras, but across the length of the game gets huge. Peluchronos can just be mono green burn nearly in a way. I love the idea of sprouting Phyto Hydra and the Hydra Broodmaster. These two help generate a huge board presence, which is kind of weird for a Hydra tribe if you think about it. Plus, the card design, the flavour, the name, everything for Phyto Hydra is very cute. And again, look at the reduction that your commander applied to them. You can cast all these cards here for 1 or 2 green mana with your commander out. It's very abusive. Then we've got Oran-Reef Hydra, who gets massive in this deck because of all the landfall. And if it's a forest, he gets 2 counters instead. Honored Hydra is a great 2-for-1. The fact if he dies, you can just pay the Embalm cost and bring him back anyway. And Hero's Bane is one of the quickest growing Hydras in this deck by far. It can pay 4 mana to double up its own power essentially with counters. Doubling Season sees this, doubles it up even further. Hardened Scales adds a little bit on top too. Now into the actual X Hydras. There's a few different ones here. So if X was to be paid as 4, you actually pay nothing because of your commander's ability kicking in. So again, a lot of these can be cast at 1, 2, maybe 3 mana. But you can sink more mana into them to even get bigger results. Protein Hydra and Hungering Hydra reward you for letting them live through combat. With each combat, they grow bigger and they learn from it. Lifeblood Hydra can give us a ton of life and a ton of draw, which is kind of rare in a Hydra-based deck. Primordial Hydra, if left unchecked, can just keep doubling up its counters every turn and get bigger and bigger and become a genuine one-shot kill. Mistcutter Hydra, to deal with those naughty blue players at the table, is a 1 mana X. He has haste, pro blue, can't be countered if that's what we care about. We've got the Voracious Hydra here, can give you different options, doubling up counters or fighting, so extra removal. Genesis Hydra can let us cheat permanents in, which can be very handy. Hooded Hydra, when it just dies, gives us an extra board presence, more chump blockers and whatnot. So rounding up, we have 20 Hydras including our commander, Gargos. But moving into his next part, his actual fighting ability, we need spells that can target our creatures to activate him. So things like Hunter's Insight can turn 1 activation into 2 fight mechanics. Invigorate we can do for free, which we do care about, buffing a creature by +4/+4. Great for a big Hydra which is about to start fighting things. Vines of the Vastwood can actually give our creature a bit of protection. It can't be the target spells or abilities our opponent control, and it gives it 4/4 if we pay the kicker. Really good if someone tries to remove our commander. Aspect of the Hydra is a really flavorful card. It buffs the creature based on your green devotion, and if you have Hydras like Kalani Hydra out, which give it +8 straight away, you've got at least a 16 commander which can fight. Other things are like Solidarity of Heroes, which double up the counters, and it has Strive, so you can actually copy the spell multiple times to all your different creatures, and because there's a different target on each different creature, your commander gets multiple triggers. Withstand Death, Mortal's Resolve, and Blossoming Defense are great ways to avoid death or removal of our key creatures, plus they'll give us a buff and activate Gargos' ability. Good old Rancor, always recurring. This gives us Trample, which is a key thing for big fat grand creatures to get through. Plus if it goes to the graveyard, back to a hand, and away we go again. Increasing Savagery lets you dump 15 counters across the length of the game on creatures. On big dumb green trampling creatures, very easy, activates Gargos as well. But later on, when we're in the Mana Dorks in the ramping section, some great creatures in there too to work with. Now to support. So, not much here, but just a couple of things. Ronus works well in the deck. He's really easy to get online because we have some big fat creatures running around. He's indestructible, 5/5 Death Toucher, great stats, and he can buff other creatures and give him trample. We have all this mana to sink into him. Primal Rage just gives everything trample, it's what we care about. Foe Razor Regent does reward us for our fight mechanic and if we win. So again, if your commander's fighting everything, killing everything, works well there. Nissa is here for a couple of reasons, mainly the ramp. She makes our forest double up, and her +1 can animate a forest and turn into a beater, which she also untaps it, and then we tap it for 2 mana again. And then we've got a couple tutors here. So Green Sun Zenith is just, standard tutor for any green creature we need, probably Mana Dorks in most cases. But Finale of Devastation is a huge payoff, and it can win most games. If you can get X's 10 or more, go and tutor out something like Colonial Hydra, and it brings into the play with haste, and it gives all your creatures +10/+10. And when a Colonial Hydra attacks, it doubles up all the counters on all the other creatures. You can have a huge blowout right there and then. Protection is key in this deck because we're sinking all this mana to spells and creatures. We don't want to waste it. So things like the Prowler here give our creatures can't be countered, very handy. Asceticism and Archetype of Endurance give us hexproof on our creatures, and removes even hexproof on theirs, plus offering regeneration. In addition, we run both our booties because, well, Commander's a huge mana sink and people will probably try and kill him pretty quick. Draw is important because Mono Green we don't do it too well. So Lifecrafter's Beastery and the Guardian Project offer us a nice steady draw across the length of the game. Harmonize and Soul Majesty are just one big payoff spells. And we do run Momentous Fall for that one huge mega draw, but we do have to sacrifice a creature. Great in response to a board wipe or direct removal that we can't avoid. In some cases, it could let you draw 10, 20 cards if you've got a big enough Hydra. Now removal is king in most Commander games, so Reclamation Sage and Aesthetic Slime let us clap most artifact enchantments we don't want to deal with. Beast from Within and Song of the Dryads, we can just deal with any permanent, just don't worry about it, it's dealt with. In addition, we run Return to Nature and Naturalize just for a bit of generic artifact enchantment hate. Don't be afraid to just pop off and get their Soul Ring or any of their Mana Rocks, slow them down a bit. Now into the actual little Mana Dorks. So Llanowar Elf, Elfish Mystic, staple, we want to get out our Hydra as quick as we can. I've got Arbor Elf here because we are doubling up our land base, so if we can untap a forest, get a little bit more value out of it. Kemetra's Acolyte taps your devotion to green. All these Hydras have huge devotions. Very easy mana dork in this deck. Now, like I said, increasing savagery. Gaia Sage is a fun card because of her evolving mechanic. All these Hydras often will power up even further, so she taps more mana. But I love casting increasing savagery on Gaia Sage, giving her at least 5 counters, then you can tap her maybe one other land, and then flashback increasing savagery and put another 10 counters on her. Now, she can produce at least 15 mana on her own, and if she lives to next turn, you can either produce at least 15 mana or attack him with Gaia Sage herself. Absolutely massive creature. Of course, we've got Kadama's Reach, Cultivate, and the Tribe Elder here, just thin down the deck, get all the lands out quick as we can. We also run Sol Ring and Gilded Lotus because it is Commander staple at this point, and Emerald Medallion reduces our entire deck pretty much even further. As for lands, we run 26 Forest because we're mono green, not much diversity in the land base here, but we do run Myriad Landscape and Blighted Woodland to help pull lands out of the deck even quicker. We do run Rogue's Passage to get these big fat Hydras through, because a lot of them can one-shot an opponent, so if they can be unblockable, even better. Kahn's Bastion offers Proliferate, so, boosting up all the counters on our Hydras. Arcane Lighthouse is very important. It pulls Hexproof off our opponent's creatures. If they have Hexproof, we can't fight them. And Oran Reef, the Vastwood, just puts counters on our green creatures that enter the board this turn. And to wrap up, we have a Reliquary Cowl for no hand size, because it can come in handy if you have things like Momentous Fall, and Shrine to Nyx because our Devotion to Green is very high, so we do produce a ton of mana. So what do you think about Gargos? Very simple commander, it's a straightforward plan, easy to follow. Just play big green stuff, smack heads, win the game. I'm very glad they printed him. Hydra's needed a real commander for a long time, and here it is. The only downside is he's not in other colors, because there are some Hydras that do go into red now and then. But very cool commander. That mana reduction he offers is huge. Most of your Hydras are 1-2 mana for like decent powered creatures now. It definitely catches people off guard. Once your commander hits the board, and if you ramp him out like turn 4, turn 5, then the next turn, you're dumping out like 3 5/5 sized Hydras. It can just come out of nowhere. In 1v1's very strong. I think the only real weakness is board wipes, because Mono Green can't do too much against board wipes. We do have a couple of protection spells in the deck, but yeah. Yeah, and that's it. So Gargos seems pretty cool. I will try and get the deck list up on Tapped Out soon, so watch out for that. And thank you for watching, guys. Catch ya. Alrighty, it's that time of the video we can do a bit of a shameless plug. So thank you for watching, guys. If you enjoyed it, please sub and like. It really does help the channel's analytics out a lot. Maybe consider joining me on my other social platforms, where you can talk about anything and everything Magic related. And special thank you to our patrons. They make the channel what it is. These guys are the building blocks of Mana Down Under. They support the channel in many ways. And if you'd be interested in supporting the channel, links are down below and at the end of the video. Thank you, guys.